Dr. Shefali, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and share your wisdom with the sleep teacher audience. So much of what you teach around regulation and conscious parenting feels especially important in the very exhausting early years. I'd love to explore how conscious parenting begins in those early sleep deprived seasons of motherhood. So, for mums who are hearing your work for the first time, how would you describe conscious parenting in simple terms?
Perfect. And yeah, early motherhood is where we need conscious parenting the most. So I began writing about conscious parenting when no one was really talking about it in 2007. And this was the book that began a revolution. It's called The Conscious Parent. And then I've written many other books. I've written 7 books in all, and 2 more are coming out. But conscious parenting, in a nutshell, is for the parent to realize that they are parenting themselves. Through raising their children, they're parenting themselves. What does that mean? That every moment with their child is actually an opportunity to see how they feel inside themselves. So when our child spills the milk and we yell at them, that's how we treat ourselves.
Yeah.
When our child forgets a backpack at school and we're compassionate, rest assured you are compassionate with yourself. So the relationship with your child becomes this incredible mirror to see how you treat your own inner child. So ultimately, if you raise your own inner child with beauty, with attunement, with respect, with self love, you will raise your outer child, the real child outside, with the same effect. So I realized that when I became a mother and I began to see the mirror effect of what was happening, and I realized, oh my goodness, I am raising my child how I raise myself. And if I'm not healed, I will project onto my child all my anxieties, all my expectations and fantasies. And I do that to this day, and my daughter's 23. So, especially in the early years, you're going to do it. So, I teach parents how to do it less. You're going to do
Okay.
it, but how
Mm.
to become aware of it. And in sleep training, especially, all our anxieties come up, right? And so, what you do and what I do go so well together.
Lots of guilt and shame around wanting change if it's not working, and so much resentment as well. I do see many of our mothers in our community are so sleep deprived and trying to show up regulated while completely empty themselves. From a nervous system perspective, what's happening to a parent in that state, and how do we parent consciously while we're still navigating our own depletion?
So difficult because the mother's instinct is to respond to the baby, and the mother's instinct is to be next to the baby. But sometimes it's in conflict with her rest. So then that induces shame and guilt, and then you get upset with the baby. Then the baby becomes the stealer of our joy, and then the poor baby gets all our upset back at them. Well, number one, mothering should never be done alone, but most of us are mothering our children alone, and
Absolutely.
that is a huge travesty because it's too much a burden to bear. So what am I trying to say? Mothering should not be on our shoulders alone. So if you have any help in your early years, the neighbor who's lovely, your best friend, your husband, your mother, your mother-in-law, it's okay if it's not perfect. Your sleep is more important because if you show up dysregulated, your child will absorb it. Your child
Yeah.
will feel it. So I would say, whatever you can do, you can't dump your baby anywhere, but whatever you can do to leave your
Create the
baby,
village. Mm.
create the village. And if a mother listening is saying to herself, okay, great, I don't have a village, well, then that is going to be a problem all your motherhood. So
Mhm.
one of the first things I teach women to do is how to create a village, even if
Okay.
it's just emotional. You know,
Amazing.
enter a women's community, go to even a synagogue or go to a local park and hang out there and meet other mothers, because you cannot do this alone. So if you're finding it hard, it's because it is hard. It's
Yeah.
not because you are defective or your child is defective. And it's okay to create some boundaries, and it's okay to not take them for every activity because you're exhausted. In the
Hmm.
early years, especially, your rest is the most important ingredient. That's why the work that you do is so important, because if the mother is unrested, it doesn't matter if she's sending her child for taekwondo or learning French and Italian. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
because the most important relationship in the early years is mother and child. I mean, I hate to put the burden on the mother, but it's also her power. It's her
Hmm.
superpower as well.
That leads so nicely into my next question. I often see self-sacrifice show up in not just sleep deprivation, but in overscheduling, trying to fit every activity and opportunity, even when the family is exhausted. How do we begin to recognize when that drive is truly in service of our child and when it might be coming from our own internal pressure?
Well, what I'm about to say is very counterculture and controversial. For the first 7 to 8 years, your children need almost zero to no external extracurricular activities. What they need is
Wow.
stability. They need stability, consistency, safety, and care and soothing in the house with
Mhm.
a sane, consistent, attuned, and present caregiver. Now, that may feel like, oh my God, so much pressure on one person. Yes, but also, if you clear away the rest of the bullshit, if you clear away the rest of the activities, now you have space. You
Mhm.
know, the best activity is in the kitchen with the dishes and the wooden spoons, and the best thing is out on the yard, on the stoop of your apartment building or of your home.
Yeah.
We have made parenting way more achievement oriented and pressureful and
Complicated.
complicated, and we're exhausted.
Yeah.
We're exhausted. When I talk about one of my big wake up calls in this book, The Awakened Family, where I took my daughter at the age of 8 years old for her first structured dance activity. And the woman said, "Oh, okay, I'm going to put her in the same class as the 3 year olds." And I said, "No, no, no, she's 8." And the woman looked at me like I was crazy. She said, "Yes, but at 8 years old, they're already like professionals, right?"
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and I was like, wow, who got the memo? I never got the neighborhood memo. So this is insanity. And if you get caught up in that, you will be financially much more stretched,
Mm.
emotionally exhausted. Your marital relationship or your relationship will be in crumbles and shards because you don't have the energy to do all of this on your own.
Yeah.
So I really recommend to parents to stop buying into this achievement culture where we're so busy trying to become that we're not being, and we're so busy trying to do that we're not restful. So if you dismantle that cultural ethos, you then come back to center and everybody is fine and amazing, and your child has an emotional foundation, which is the key to a successful life.
Amazing. Yeah, I've got little 4-month-olds when I'm talking with them about what their day looks like, and I've got library class and swimming lessons and play group, and it's the mother's anxiety to be somewhere at a certain point of the day, and they might be screaming because they're hungry and they've got to get them in the car, and it's like, oh man, just stop overscheduling yourself. Just be at home. And if you feel that day that you can get to the park, that. And I'm always like, yes, sunlight, getting outside, amazing. But when you find those pockets of time that you can do that, where you're not like, oh my God, I have to get in the car and get to this activity that I've paid for or that I'm, need to show up for, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Amazing advice.
and I'm going to be talking about this when I come to Australia a lot, which is the external pressure that we have indoctrinated and taken in, internalized, which drives us crazy. Children are not supposed to be scheduled. Even just the school schedule is overscheduled.
Yeah.
Just that. Then they come
Yeah.
home. Then they have 15 minutes to rest. Then they have to go to an activity, then have a shower, then sing songs, then say prayers, then
Do
read a book,
homework.
then do homework, then get along, then eat a family dinner and sit at the table and answer stupid questions that we parents have. It is insanity. It is anti-child and
Yeah.
therefore anti-human.
Hmm. Love that. That's lots of food for thought there. So there is a growing fear that if a child is upset when we hold a boundary, we're causing harm. How do we understand the role of discomfort in development and build the capacity to sit with our child's emotions without trying to silence them or rescue ourselves from the guilt that we feel?
Yeah, so our tendency as parents is either to jump in too fast or jump in too slow, right? So it's very hard to find the attunement. And that's why I teach attunement so much. Because if you know your child, you will see when it is, a cry just for attention or cry just out of a little bit of fussiness, to when it escalates that they are now saying, my nervous system is overloaded, I need help. And
Yeah,
again, help doesn't mean you give them the candy. Help means you co-regulate with them.
yeah,
So you can still keep the boundary, but you stay with them and you soothe them through your voice and your body, not so much through words or questions, just through the body and through leaning in and tuning in and holding them. Physical language is the way of children. So
mhm,
is music, so is dance, so is play. So there's so many options we have, but we don't use them because we're exhausted, we're not creative, we're panicked. And then we just give them the candy or give them the TV or give them whatever they were asking. But there were so many ways to maneuver it if we stayed present. And
yeah,
that's hard for an over anxious, overwhelmed parent. So
yes,
parents have to learn this. I always say conscious parenting is not a talent. It's not a trait. It's not genetic. It is something cultivated on a daily basis. And that's what you and I teach.
yeah. One of my mottos, particularly with my toddler parents, is less is more when we are trying to let them see sleep in a different way. Toddlers that want the parent to lay with them or getting up hourly after they've gone to bed. And so we're trying to get them a little bit more used to going off to sleep without the padding and things like that. When obviously lots of toddlers, they throw down, they tantrum, they scream, and it's really hard for that parent to not reach that path of least resistance of, okay, yes, come into the bed or whatever it is. They've obviously got to that point where it's not working for them anymore, but they really struggle with that heightened emotion that they're seeing from their little 2-year-old or 3-year-old. A lot of that work is setting the child up really well, connecting with them before bedtime, and then giving them that space to see, or just the time to see that sleep can look differently without always reverting back to that pathway that feels really comfortable for that child right now. But we see it every day. Children adapt so well when we set them up and we practice things over and over and just kind of sit with them and not feel like we need to jump in and totally stop that really big upset, because they do get there. And I'm not talking about just shutting the door and leaving them. They obviously sit with them and there's a process through it. But I think it really is triggering for so many families that we work with, that really upset cry when we do say no to our children. So yeah, that's a tricky part of it for sure.
Yes, it's not easy, and you have to know yourself and you have to forgive yourself and know your child.
Hmm.
And it looks different for everybody, and there is no one right way that we can copy paste. So
Yeah.
we keep trying. And the best thing about parenting is that there's always repair and there's always an opportunity to adjust. And you'll be adjusting all your life every day. It's a creative relationship. It's not set in stone. There's no one way to do this.
Yeah, beautiful. Which also ties into my next question. When a mother is at the end of her capacity and reacts at bedtime, even though she is desperately wanting to be calm, how can she repair with her child in a way that strengthens connection instead of reinforcing shame?
I think children need us to just be there in our presence. So we can put on music and just dance with them. We can just soothe them and play with their hair. It doesn't have to be a big verbal conversation.
Yeah.
Repair is so powerful. It has to be authentic. It has to come from a genuine place, and it has to match the temperament of the child and the parent. Some kids repair through a game or through a song. There are many ways to show our children that we care about them. And
Yeah.
each one of us has to find that way that is authentic to us. We shouldn't do things because the coach or the therapist told us to go say sorry in this way, but then it's totally not real.
Yeah.
Just the other day, a parent was telling me how every therapist she had been to was telling her that she needed to, spend time with her children in a, can I go out with you? Can I eat with you? And she's like, I don't, that's not authentic to me. I don't want to be with them so much. They're grown children.
Yeah.
And so I asked her, what feels authentic to you? And then we came up with something that was uniquely curated for her personality.
Hmm. Yeah. Amazing. I do have a couple of questions from our sleep teacher community. I chose ones that I felt like would help the most, and it's a common sort of recurring theme that we see. So, one is I feel guilty even thinking about prioritizing my own sleep or well-being. How do I shift that without feeling selfish?
Well, what I would say to this mother and most mothers who feel this heavy burden of shame around prioritizing their own self care is that this is an old story. This is an old emotional baggage that we have interpreted from our childhood that says, if you place yourself first, you are not a good human being. And nothing could be further from the truth, especially in parenthood.
Hmm.
So just because you prioritize yourself doesn't mean you are neglecting your child. It's not a zero-sum game. It is both and. And your children are resilient. Your children are not going to collapse because you took a nap every afternoon for an hour. Every afternoon for an hour. It is not going to make a dent in your child's life. What will make a dent in their life is that you spend 10 hours in a crabby, crotchety, snippety mood, and you jump at them and lurch at them.
Yeah.
That will make a bigger difference. So trading an hour or two a day to take care of yourself, whether it is to go to exercise or write in your journal or sing in your shower, is investment for the rest of the day. And you
Yeah.
have to look at it as the holy grail of parenting.
Yeah. Even I feel like a lot of parents that choose to go on a little mum's getaway for 1 or 2 nights, and you can see some women getting slammed of like, how could you leave your child for a night or two to go with your friends? You're a mum, you can't leave them. And I'm in the camp of like, well, yes, we absolutely can. We're still women. We're not just a mum. We need to be able to do that without feeling this guilt and shame about it and wanting to hide it.
Yeah, it's a modern Western imperialistic idea that our children should only be with one parent. It just is not the way we were wired. They need
Mm,
a consistent person in their lives, but they don't need only one person in their lives.
yeah.
We were always meant to be raised as Homo sapiens. It is in our social fabric, in our emotional DNA, to be interconnected with a vast network of adults. And
Mhm.
in our early childhood, it is okay to be with your aunties, your grandmothers, your nannies, as long as the tribe is safe and the tribe has been vetted. All kudos to the mother who has created a vetted tribe that she can leave her infant or young toddler with for a night or two. It is
Yeah.
amazing that the toddler gets to adjust to different styles from a young age, as long as they are safe and secure.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. I reach for screens for my kids when I'm overwhelmed just to get a moment. How do I approach that consciously without shame?
Well, again, if that is the only way to keep you from screaming at your kids, then that is the better option for that moment. Next, what you put on the screen matters. The younger they are, if it's short cartoons and short videos, that is not the best for their growing brain because their
Yeah.
brain cannot process quick videos and a lot of action and violence and crashes and burns and sounds and animations. So maybe you just have a few rules about that.
Mhm.
Only human people, only teachers who teach really slowly, only videos that you are in charge of and the child cannot change or scroll away. You try to minimize the damage and you use the screens to help you in your parenting, but you do not use the screens to replace you.
Hmm. Yeah. And I do think it is sort of swinging where you've got mothers with a preschooler, a toddler, a newborn, and they are finding themselves in that trap of the TV is on a lot of the day. And it's becoming a bit of a coping mechanism for the toddler. They melt down, they're not coping, here's the screen. And that's kind of what we teach as well of we want to be able to sit with them with those feelings and not just put a screen in front of them or give them the snack to stop that tantrum, because I feel like what are we teaching them when they're having these really big heightened emotions?
Right.
What's that
Right. So
screen doing? Yeah.
Right. So, in all my work, I talk about one of the biggest traps of parenting, which is this idea, this mythology that you need to raise a happy child.
Yeah.
And it's very deep, but just quickly, as long as we're attached to raising happy children, we will botch the parenting process up because it is abnormal to expect your children to be happy all the time.
Absolutely.
Children need to get frustrated because through frustration, you get an opportunity to teach them frustration tolerance and you teach them how to become resilient. So, children need to get frustrated. They need to throw the tantrum.
Yeah.
They need to cry. They need to be bored so that you can then intervene and co-regulate and teach them skills. They don't need to be all that to the point of trauma where you neglect them. They need to go through that so that the caregiver interacts with them. And through that interaction of frustration and regulation, the resilience muscle is born. Resilience will not be born if every time they cry, you suppress it by giving them the TV, the candy, the money, whatever it is. You are not teaching a skill, you are suppressing the skill from developing. And as long as parents remember that, then when your child cries, you won't take it as a burden, you will take it as an invitation. And the other thing that stops parents is that they take it as a personal failure if their child is not happy all the time. And that again is shame from childhood. It is
Yeah.
not true. You are allowed to be upset, you are allowed to get angry, you are allowed to have healthy emotions, and that is not a personal failure.
Love that so much. I could speak to you for days. I have one more from the audience. So I constantly worry that I'm getting it wrong and that if I don't handle every moment perfectly, I'm going to screw my child up. How do I parent consciously without feeling like every decision is high stakes?
So that's another mistake that parents make is that they think that they have to do it right. They have to be it right. And even that, you can have a lot of leeway to make mistakes. What it means is that you have to show up as a human being, present and ready to be humble, to pivot, to learn, to adapt, to be flexible. There is no such thing as doing it right. You will not mess up your kids if you show up every day, look them in the eye, and you're available, attuned, and present. You will not be able, you can try as much as you like, but if you show up critical of yourself and them, judgmental of yourself and them, shaming of yourself and them, not self loving, because if you're not self loving, you're not child loving,
Mhm.
then you will mess it up. So it's a being state. But if you grow up with them and you allow them to grow up with you, loving, present, and attuned, you're going to be okay.
Mhm.
Then, if you send them to violin or you send them to trombone or you didn't send them to this school, but you send them to that school, All of that is life's experiences that you can never control, that you can never get it right. Here in America, there's a big uh, obsession with going to college. And I train a lot of parents around that process because I always tell parents, wherever your child goes is the right college. It's the experience that your child has and what your child brings makes it the right college. It is not this perfect college where the right people show up. That doesn't exist. There
Yeah,
is no such thing as a perfect life. It is what you bring to life. So, in the same way with parenting, it's what you bring to the moment that makes all the difference. It has nothing to do with the decisions or where you send your kid or what you say to your kid. It's just your presence.
beautiful. And I just quickly want to touch on one more thing. What would you say to a mother who is parenting consciously or trying her best to do that, but her partner is very much on a different path and using fear-based tactics to stop the child from tantruming or just expecting a lot from a child that's probably more like an adult expectation?
Yeah, this is one of the most common questions I get asked. I think I've been
Okay.
asked this almost every day, honestly.
Okay.
So what that means is that whoever's worried about this, they're not alone. 90% of the families I've talked to, only one parent is trying to become conscious.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to say, it's typically the woman.
Yeah.
And the male partner is more traditional, more authoritarian. Part of it is because of how the male brain is designed. They're very action oriented, very goal oriented. Oh, you're crying? I'll fix you. Make you stop crying, right? Women, our brains are different, and we have more tolerance for the relationship. Having said that, what does the parent do? Number one, if it's abusive and gotten to the point of unsafety, you are going to have to forsake your relationship for the responsibility of being a conscious parent. I always say you have to chase consciousness, not the relationship. So it doesn't matter if it's your mother who's being abusive, you will have to forsake that relationship and chase consciousness. So, number
Yeah.
one, what are you willing to sacrifice if the stakes are high? Number two, one parent being conscious is very difficult when you are in conflict with the other one who's not conscious. It's almost better if both are unconscious for the parent
Okay.
because then you're not fighting, both of you are unconscious.
Yeah.
But for the child to have two unconscious parents is hell.
Hmm.
One unconscious parent mitigated and mediated and lessened by the other conscious parent, it's horrible for the parent, but much better for the child. All
Okay.
to say that the conscious parent has a lot of power. They can take that child to the other room and say, you know, X or Y is in a bad mood today because of their problem. It's not you. Look at me. I'm here to tell you it's not you, it's them. And I will take care of it. And I'm so sorry that they dumped on you. But I'm here to tell you it's not you. Here, dump it back on me and I will help you. So
Hmm.
if the child has that refuge where they feel seen and heard by at least one parent, that is a lot of power.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for answering that. So you're heading to Australia. Woohoo! Tell
Yes.
us, what can parents expect to learn from your upcoming tour?
I'm coming to Melbourne on March 11th. I'm coming to Sydney on March 12th. I'm going to be teaching the principles and foundations of conscious parenting that are literally game changing and can change your life. It doesn't matter if you're a child of an infant or a 23-year-old like I am or a 40-year-old. There are so many things we can do as a parent that we're not conscious of that can pivot the parent child relationship and change. I mean, it's a game changer, conscious parenting. It's a revolution. So, I will be teaching the foundations and principles of conscious parenting. I will be giving you tools and strategies to deal with your child's anxiety, your child's performance pressure and perfectionism, and all the fears that you have as a parent that your child is going to go the wrong way. I will give you strategies that when you leave that evening, you will be a different parent. So come attend my talk. I hope I'll see you there. It
I
will
will
be
absolutely be there. Yes.
and bring your partner or your mother or your best friend.
Yeah. Love it. I can't wait. You are yeah, like I said, I could talk to you for days. You're so refreshing and it's beautiful. And I feel very just for new parents coming into things, that there's so much information and overwhelm. And I feel like they can ground in on your teachings. They will have a beautiful parenting journey.
Thank you. Yes, if you start conscious parenting young, oh my goodness, you're setting up your children for such amazing resilience and empowerment ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for making the time. And yeah, loved our chat. And I can't wait to see you in Melbourne.
Can't wait to see you, Melbourne or Sydney, either one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.